news just coming through, Jeremy, that he is going to appeal and that in 13 minutes from now, he will face a directions hearing with Judge Anthony Kelly. He was the one that regarded the cancellation of the visa invalid on Monday. So the court is going to, in fact, sit tonight, a directions hearing to see where they go from here, and likely sit again tomorrow. And then Novak Djokovic himself will have an immigration interview tomorrow as well. So it's an ever-evolving story with where we're at the moment.
But is it possible then, obviously Alex Hawke wants him out of the country, your immigration minister. He could just wait until an hour before the game and cancel his visa again, and then the police arrest him and that's it?
Well, as it seems at the moment, it's going to come down to this appeals hearing and what Judge Anthony Kelly does. Alex Hawke has used that power that he has at his discretion, but Novak Djokovic is well within his rights to go back through another appeals process. However, talking to lawyers tonight, it is going to be a very different appeals process this time around, because Alex Hawke, the power that is granted to him, has a very, very wide scope. And you read out, what Novak Djokovic is accused of doing and why he's being deported. It has to do with public health. I mean, there is a very wide scope in terms of someone's dangers when it comes to public health. And to fight against that, I think, is going to be very difficult for Novak Djokovic this weekend.
And since we last spoke, Shane, there's more things have emerged. It seems he was out and about with having tested positive. He moved between countries without declaring it. Spain, Belgrade, Serbia, Monaco. It almost as if I just wonder whether public opinion there is turning against him now, is it?
Oh, 100%, Jeremy. Absolutely it is. I think when the ruling was made earlier in the week, people went, okay, that's the judge's decision, we accept it. And then more and more stories came out through media investigations, the fact that there was a false declaration on that travel declaration. Of course, Novak Djokovic himself later blamed a support team member. But I think the real kicker was that positive COVID test. Then the next day, being out and about with kids in Belgrade, and then doing a media interview with the French magazine where he knew that he had COVID, yet still went ahead with the magazine shoot. And I think when you talk about public health, that's probably the issue that stands out for mine.
Is there, just technically speaking, is there any way he could have got into the country having said, I haven't taken the vaccine? Is there a way in? Because we know he hasn't had the vaccine. Could he have got in without being vaccinated, or can you not really do that?
It's very, very difficult to get in without a vaccine. I mean, this is a country that has built itself on being fully vaccinated. And the reason that he had was that he had tested positive to COVID-19 and that would be a reason to get into the country. And the immigration department said, no, that's not actually a reason. But if he just came to Australia and said, I'm unvaccinated, there would need to be a lot of other mitigating circumstances through which he'd be let in. So be it a family member or something like that. He has none of that. Again, Jeremy, Novak Djokovic could have easily gotten into the country if he'd had 2 needles, and they would have been painless, much less pain than what he's going through at the moment.
Thank you very much. As always, Shane McInnes, a busy day, a night ahead for you, I know. Thank you, Shane, very much. There we go. Jeremy. Presenter and sports broadcaster. Of course, he's not talking about tennis, which is what he loves. Oh, Lucy, what? I mean, maybe there'll be people who defend Novak Djokovic, but it's getting harder too, isn't it?
It is getting harder. And as Shane said there, since the first cancellation of the visa and then the reinstatement of it, there have been these other pieces of information that have come out about Novak Djokovic testing positive, about his travel record. And Australia has very clear rules. I mean, it is a little bit like, and this is where it becomes difficult when you're talking about vaccines, but it is like going to other countries where they demand to see vaccination certificates for other illnesses. This is what Australia has done and implemented for very many months now. So it's not as though Novak Djokovic and his team, if he wants to blame his team, weren't aware of what the rules would be if he wanted to play in this particular tournament. He doesn't have to attend. He doesn't have to play if he doesn't want to abide by the rules. But if you show up committed to play in the tournament, then you do have to think about what those rules will be for all of the tournament. And that includes, the location and what the immigration rules are around that.
But this, I mean, I guess, Shola, this story shows us that if you are not vaccinated, you will be treated as a pariah. And there are people who really get angry about that because they say they've been told getting vaccinated is their choice, but then they see this situation.
No, I think that's wrong. I don't think this story teaches or says that if you're not vaccinated, you'll be treated as a pariah. We're saying here, from what we can see with Novak Djokovic, that if in your arrogance about being vaccinated, you put other people's lives at risk, then heck no, should you have the same access everybody else has. So thinking that being COVID positive is grounds for him to come in, and the way that he behaved with people, with children, knowing that he was positive, clearly tells you that this is somebody who does not care about how, the virus could be transmitted from him. So I think it's really more about the arrogance he's displayed. Nobody is mistreating Novak here. He's not some refugee or asylum seeker that is being mistreated. This is a man with privilege who is abusing it and leading by bad example. I totally support Australia's right to cancel his visa. Of course, it is Novak's right not to be vaccinated. But to Lucy's point, there are rules, and nobody's above the rules. I don't care how talented he is not above the rules, period.
Well, you say that, but of course, the other people do care how talented he is. And if someone said Elvis Presley's going to play at the O2 tomorrow night, I'd be down there. Then you'd say, Shola, well, he hasn't been vaccinated, so we can't let him. I'd say, you've got to be joking. You've got to be joking. And Lucy, in the end, this is about this guy goes above and beyond the rules because he's the greatest tennis player in the world, right? The rules don't count.
It's very tricky, isn't it? Because there is a very small part of me, and given things that I've said on this show before, people can imagine it's a very tiny part. But I really understand why some athletes who have to be so careful about what they put in their body and are so continuously monitoring mentally what is going on with their body. Oh, is that a sniffle? Is that an ache? Is that a twinge? How is this going to affect my performance? I can completely understand why somebody like him has made a decision about vaccination that he has. I get that. But at this moment, it's a little bit like the royal story, that actually the Australian Open is bigger than Novak Djokovic. And I think it's time that Novak Djokovic actually realised that he is maybe one of the most supreme tennis players that we have ever seen, ever. Not just in my generation, but before that. But that does not give you the right to play fast and loose with the health, not just of your team, not just of your fellow players, but maybe people that you might encounter in the crowd.
All right, let's take a